leading and joining with my colleagues, my fellow Democratic attorney generals, in suing this administration to stop this illegal freeze of essential funds for our state. We will not stand for any illegal policy that puts essential services for millions of Americans at risk. And we work tirelessly overnight to ensure that that does not happen. Our lawsuit will seek a court order to immediately stop the enforcement of the OMB policy and to preserve essential funding for Americans. This is not a question of being adversarial. This is a question of the Constitution and the rule of law. And all of us took an oath to obey the Constitution and uphold it. Clearly, his actions are arbitrary and capricious. His actions violate the Constitution, the separation of powers. He fails to respect a co-equal branch of government. He exceeded his authority. It's important that individuals understand that what we are doing is protecting democracy and the rule of law. My office and the offices that are here, that are represented here today, have some of the best legal minds in this nation. And we, again, have all indicated that we are prepared to work with this administration. But when it comes to a clear violation of the law, we will not be silent. We will not sit idly by and allow individuals to trespass on the rights of Americans. We prepared for this moment. And just as we did during the first administration, we won 80% of our cases, and we are prepared to do it again.
We will not stand by while the president attempts to disrupt vital programs that feed our kids, provide medical care to our families, and support housing in our communities. We won't stand by while the president breaks the law and oversteps his authority as outlined in our Constitution, a Constitution he swore an oath to uphold just 1 week ago. It shouldn't be too much to ask that the president follow the law and abide by the federal government's commitments. I do believe that the FEMA funding is at risk, and we need it. We need it now. We needed it yesterday and without conditions. And it's unfortunate that it's being put at risk, not just from potential conditions being imposed by the president, but also by this memo. So yes, we believe the FEMA funding is put at risk.
Congress is given the power to appropriate the funding. The executive branch cannot unilaterally disregard those appropriations passed by a separate and equal House of Government. We will collectively fight this unconstitutional mandate.
Nearly every part of our lives is impacted by federal aid. Instead of following through on the promises the president promised to help people, including working people, poor people, he is instead stripping funding from the very families that rely on these precious resources and doing so illegally.
The president in this country is powerful. He is not a king. He does not get to wake up in the morning or after an afternoon nap and direct his entire government to stop funding critical services that Congress has duly authorized and appropriated, that millions and millions of Americans, Republicans, Democrats, independents, children, adults, seniors depend on for life-saving care because he doesn't like something that he woke up thinking about. That's not the rule of law. And when we say we're going to stand up for the rule of law, we mean it. Look, we're prepared to stand up for the rule of law, and I'm confident that the federal courts will agree with us. When you have such blatant violations of the rule of law, in the case we filed last week, federal judge said it was the most ridiculous argument put forth by the government in 40 years of federal service. We're not talking about nibbling at the edges of the president's authority. We're talking about ignoring the entirety of the United States Constitution, throwing duly enacted statutes out the window simply because the president of this country doesn't like it. That's not permissible under our legal system. Presidents have powers, but they are not unlimited. And states, as you're seeing here, have the power when the president violates that law and hurts our residents. We have the power to stand up and protect them and speak on their behalf. And that is what we're doing, and I'm confident that we will be successful in that effort.
It leaves us with no choice that when a president takes unconstitutional action of this nature, to act and to act quickly. Every American Every Rhode Islander is impacted by this. If you drive on a road, you're impacted. If you get health care, you're impacted. If your children are being educated in our schools, you're impacted. If you believe in public safety, if you're a man or a woman in blue, and all of us who are protected by them, you are impacted by this blatantly unlawful and unconstitutional action.